Welcome to the ultimate challenge in French football. Today, we're taking on Paris FC, a club sitting in the shadow of the mighty PSG, but that will end today. This is the beginning of a new era. We're rebuilding this club from the ground up, turning it into the pride of Paris. Forget being the second best. Our goal? To dethrone PSG and become the biggest French powerhouse. It's not going to be easy, but we will not stop until we're right at the top. Join me today. I don't know how many seasons this will take. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. As always, you can go over and find this rebuild and tactic on that Patreon. And if you want to see these live, you can come over to the main channel because this would have been very good to do live. Let's get into it. So then, this is going to be Paris FC, of course, in League 2. Obviously the French League 2. Now, the one thing I will say is with these sorts of clubs, it can become quite frustrating because you're always going to have quite a limited budget. The finances are actually quite secure. The balance is absolutely tiny. Now, in terms of reputation, it's pretty decent. 3-star training, 3-star youth facilities, and the youth recruitment, well, we can work on that, can't we? But in terms of a club, they have won next to nothing, and I'll be honest, they are nowhere near PSG's level in terms of players, in terms of trophies, in terms of everything. So this is going to be a big rebuild, and I imagine also quite a long rebuild because, as I said, I've done clubs like this before and the money is always the biggest sort of setback. Now, in the first season, you would have actually had a total of £3 million, which, to be fair, I've seen worse for clubs, but we don't go and make any signings in season 1. Now, debts and loans, they have next to none. In fact, they do have none, so we can spend money as it does stand. Now, the tactic I've sort of deployed is quite bold. We have gone with a 4-2-4, which is quite attacking, but you've got to bear in mind we are not in the French league yet, the main one. We're in the second tier, and to be honest with you, looking at it, there are teams in here that I think we can beat quite comfortably. In terms of a prediction, they're already predicting 4th, and with my tactics, I know what we can do, and my set pieces, so I'm going to say it quite confidently, we will get promoted in the first season, so we've got to be prepared. Now, of course, you've been watching the live streams, we've got this man at United in my current live stream save, and he is a gem. So this guy, he has to stay. It's simple as that. The players around him, I've got limited knowledge on, I will be honest. A few of them I know. Obviously, one player is a loanee, but he is joining permanently. So one thing I'll say is, if he is going to have a good season, it would be perfect because we've got him anyway. In terms of an overall sort of squad, I'm going to be honest, the quality is pretty average and there's not real too many standout players, but I believe it's good enough to get promoted to the actual main French league. Now, the player that I'm going to talk about is going to be Hamel because he reminds me a bit, now I'm not comparing him to him, but he's got a Harry Kane vibe. Not the quickest, but for this league, he's got the decent composure, decent finishing. I think he's going to score a fair few goals, and if he doesn't, this guy has got a bit more of the pace and maybe a bit more sort of well-rounded. Now, the wingers we've got obviously Cafaro, who is a reasonable winger for this league. He can probably get the job done, and Lopez, who, again, will probably in the same category. In terms of French league players, the main French league, I think we're going to struggle. Now, our goalkeeper looks very old, a lot older than 35, but he'll do a job for this season, and other than that, there's not really too much to report about. So I think the main aim here is to gain promotion back to the French League in Season 1, not really worry about the French Cup because that's not our battle at the moment, purely get into the French League, hope we've got a minimum of like 20 million to go and really strengthen, because if we get promoted with this team, and then, for example, we have about 4 or 5 million, I think we go back down. I don't want to be harsh, but I think that's the reality. So let's cue Season 1 and aim for that title. Right then, an absolute golden start because we are going to gain promotion. It was done by, 3 losses and 3 draws as well. So it's not a flawless season, but we got the job done. And it's as simple as that. We've got 2 players in Hamel and also Crasso in the goals. We've got 3 players when it comes to the average rating, 3 players in the assists, and the second most clean sheets. And it is going to be Big Remy coming in. So that is really good to see. And I tell you what, not a bad display in the French Cup, getting all the way to the final and only losing by 1 goal against Marseille. Did we beat PSG, by the way? I don't think we did. We beat Lens. Quarter-final, we did. We win on penalties already over big boy PSG. So that's a 1-0 in my bank. I mean, we'll take that. So that's a very good start. Now, in terms of the actual money, we have got a budget of £8 million. The debts and loans are still clear, obviously. So despite that promotion, I don't think it's not like the Championship where you get so much money for winning it. So we've got 8.5 million, and I look at the team. Don't get me wrong, the player's done well in this division. 21, 25, 18, 12 assists from both of the wing-backs. It is incredible, but in terms of doing this in the French league, we have got very few players that you would class as a French league top player. Now, the good thing about these rebuilds is the contracts, okay? Because any player that doesn't want a contract can leave. They're most likely not even going to be quality for the future plans anyway. So if players do go on the free, it is actually helping me out because obviously ideal, you sell them. The second best, let them go on the free, take the wage back into your budget. So realistically, these rebuilds can be quite easy in the sense of you're not begging to keep hold of players. The one player that we would want to keep on the sort of a shorter contract at the moment is DeSmet, and he is obviously staying on the permanent anyway, so that's all under security. Other players, I mean, a 36-year-old goalkeeper, he can go. 32 years old, this is the other thing. We've got a lot of aging players, so the contract situation, in fact, Remy's actually retiring, it does become quite, not stressful is the right word, but realistically, this team here has done a good job. But with £8 million, I am now quite nervous about going into Season 2, because there's no way this team stays up. And with £8.5 million, how many players can we even get? Let's go and find out. So then we are going to have two players coming in. The first one is going to be a bit of a big boy sign, and it is going to be Adley for 6.2 million, and he has actually had quite the entry to the French league. Of course, he has played here before with Bordeaux and PSG, so that's quite a little fun one there. A bit of a stint out in Italy, and he comes back and does do a very good job. Now, I will say, in terms of midfield players, he's a leading player, and he's already valued at triple to what we paid. So, in terms of business, also very, very good. Lastly, we are going to pick up Coyote Bankole. He comes in, and I tell you what, he might not be the best goalkeeper you've seen, but we had limited money, okay? Now, he comes in on the free. He only keeps 3 clean sheets in 15 games, but you've got to remember our backline is not strong, so this is not purely on him as a goalkeeper. He's a good keeper for now. Is he going to be guaranteed to stay as our first team keeper? Of course not. There might be a better goalkeeper that comes in, but for our first season, I just hope he's kept us up in the table. Now, the other signing we know about is going to be DeSmet. No players leave, so I will say at the moment the squad's looking pretty decent. Now, we have got some players out of contract. I've gone into those players, looked at them, they're not good enough. I don't want them. They can happily leave on the free, which should be next season. So we've got 2 new additions and DeSmet stays. I will take anywhere that's not relegation in the French league, and I genuinely mean that. Sadly, the French Cup, we are going to fall down the rankings a little bit. We are going to bail out against Lille, who I will say are still probably, and definitely actually, a more significant team. Now, I'm not too fussed over the French Cup at the moment, especially when you're finishing 3rd in the French league. Now, this might be a fluke season, I'll be honest. I'm actually even more nervous now, because if we don't have a big transfer budget, we're playing Champions League football with Paris FC. So, before I even break down the table, let's go and see the money. Outrageous. That can't be correct. I'm hoping that's not updated, but 3.2 million is not going to get you anywhere. Now, in terms of players in the league, okay, we actually do have Crasso as the joint top goal scorer, so this guy can hack the French league quite easily. Really, really impressive. Also the best average rating, and DeSmet, our left back, I am so happy. He was also a freebie, by the way. I am so happy we managed to keep him. Will obviously get him, not keep him, because it was pre-agreed. So this is a really strong season, but it's one of them where I think has come at the wrong time. Marseille win the league, so hats off to them. PSG in 2nd place. We are 3rd, but we are nowhere near the title race. That's just a fact. But I mean, with that sort of money, I hope that's a joke, because we can't do anything with it. Literally nothing. Now, in terms of stats, I will say the numbers from DeSmet are nothing simply of a miracle. Absolutely incredible. Probably the best player in this team. If you're looking at a overall perspective, defensively and attacking, he's nuts. Our right back also doing a great job. The midfield's relatively quiet, but doing their job. Going forwards, 13, 21, 14. Dicko, obviously the sort of backup striker, who is also getting old now, 33, coming in with 14 goals. So the front line scoring, but it's nowhere near close to winning a title, which is fine. We're literally in our first season, so let's just calm down. Well, our first season in this league. But I mean, looking at the schedule as well, we're not getting blitzed like, you know, an immaculate friendly spell. We do lose the odd game here or there, as to be expected, but I mean, this is very, very reasonable. But what's not fun is that transfer budget, because it means we've got to improve this overall starting 11 and bench players with £3 million. It can't be right. let's choose season 3, because if that's right, you might not see a single signing. Then we've got 3 signings to talk about, and yes, it was £3 million, so free agents have had to come in, and the first and only paid signing is going to be Mendy. Now, he comes in from French football, 30 games, 6.89, 2 goals, but we're signing people that are League 2 players, but really good League 2 players. We've not got the funding. Now, he says this, okay, so the ability is classed as that, but he's got very good attributes. He's got the tackling, he's got the acceleration, he's got the pace, he's also got the jump and reach, so he is a really good centre-back, but when you've got this tighter budget, people, you can't do much with it. You really can't. It becomes very tough. To the point where you're picking up players like Emil Croft. Of course, players from Newcastle were never a bad sort of player to turn to, but I will say he is getting on. He does a reasonable job, to be fair. 3 goal contributions, 6.87, but he's 31. This is short-term okay, long-term awful. But when you've got this sort of funding, you can't do much with it, to the point where our only other player is going to be Stefan Oddi coming in, who, again, is good for sort of an option up front. In fact, he does quite well. 11 goals and an assist. I'm not going to complain. We pick him up on the free from Denmark, so these players aren't names we're used to, okay, and sometimes that's difficult, but that's all we can do. He has got the pace, he's got the agility, he's got the finish, and the composure's a little bit iffy, and he is 28, so he's not really going to get any better. The only player we do lose is going to be our backup goalkeeper, goalkeeper, left back, where has goalkeeper come from, who I had no say in. That deal was done, so I'm not buzzing about the window, but when you've got 3.3 million, you can't do much with it. Do you know what I mean? You can't do much with it at all. So I think, to be honest, we've got to take it and accept it and just hope we can do something. But of course, we played in the Champions League, which was diabolical, by the way. Let's see how we done. I mean, I say diabolical. We are all the way down here in 20th when it comes to the league phase, okay? So it's not great. We do go out and beat Napoli, Newcastle, and Juventus. We draw against PSV. Oh, it's 8-1. I don't know if you can see that because of my webcam, but we lost 8-1 to Real Madrid, 5-1 to Inter Milan, Fenerbahce 2-1, Club Brugge 1-0. So we're not really there yet. And when it comes to the knockout playoff round, we failed to Dortmund, just though, only by 1 goal. So it's not humiliation in this part. The Madrid game was, but we're Paris FC. We're not ready just yet. So do you know what? Apart from the Real Madrid game, I'll say it's okay. 11th round, we are going to bail out against FC Annecy on penalties in the French Cup. And sadly, very, very sadly, we drop big time in the French League. Now, this always happens. When you get into European competitions, especially the Champions League, this occurs all the time, okay? Because now we've not got players that are even performing in the stat lines, because these players are being forced to play so many games, and we simply don't have the squad for it. Now, in terms of games that we've lost, that I'm going to show it just to showcase what we've got to build on. We got beat by PSG twice. That's who we're going head-to-head with. 2-0 and 6-1. The back line is nowhere near ready to compete with this powerhouse, who are flying now. Lille come in 2nd, Marseille down in 5th, so not a great season for them. But this season here, the Champions League come too early, and it's as simple as that. The French Cup, I'm not fussed about at the moment. The French League, we have now got no European football. I want to see us climb back into at least 6th. I feel like we could maybe do something, get to maybe a quarter-final in the Europa League, maybe a semi-final, depending, but we'll see. I mean, in terms of money, this is actually very, very good, because we've got 38 million, which is, it feels like having a Man City window with this team. The debts and loans, only 154,000 in that debt, so we can go and spend money as well, which is very good, because we need to spend money, because the team, I'm not slating the team at all. These players are not expected to be League One players. The forward line are still doing a job. 35 goals between the strikers, which is more than acceptable. But other than that, the numbers are looking quite average. And I've got to say that, I mean it. I mean, our left-back has had a real tough time this year. If you actually compare the seasons, there's a big drop-off. I mean, he's played 3 less games, but he wouldn't make up for it anyway. Now, the right-back situation, we have got Kraft playing there, and he's done an okay job. The previous right-back did pick up 12 assists as well. So there's potential in the team, but we are nowhere near yet. So it's making me sort of process in my head how long this rebuild might take. Now, we have got money. 38 million's a lot of money, and I mean, in terms of where we've got to spend it, we are better at scoring than we are conceding, so the backline needs a big investment. Let's go and make it happen. First up is going to be a free signing, and a very good free signing. It's going to be Amir. He is going to come in for a total of £0. He plays 31 games, 7 goals and 9 assists, so 16 goal contributions, a very good average rating, and probably our best left midfield player. He can also play central, so if we do switch it up, he will be perfectly fitted for that role. And look at the value. We are finally getting younger players with big value, big potential, who are good for two things, okay? Because he's good to obviously be in the team. He will win us something, hopefully. But also, if he does, want to move on, we can get minimum 40 million. So either way you look at the piece, it's brilliant. Same can be said for Marcus Edwards. Of course, getting older now, 28 years of age, a dream to have a player like this at the club. He comes in for nothing, and it's 24 goal contributions and a 7.37 average rating. The guy absolutely cooked. He's rapid, the dribbling's there, the finishing's there, the flair's there, the technique's there, the passing's there, versatile on the left, on the right. His only weakness is that he is now older, but I tell you what, I can't be picky. With Paris FC, we are going to sign free agents that are 30, 28, 27. It's going to happen, and I tell you what, again, similar to the other player, if he does want to move on, minimum 45 million. So if it does happen, it'll be heartbreaking, but the money's going to be there. And for a club that have given me very limited funding, apart from the last window, or this window, you've got to accept that. We are also going to pick up a player that I thought would never be seen in this shirt. It's going to be Luka Jovic. Now, mixed opinions, because the return is very good. So 16 goals, 10 assists. A lot of people don't like this player in the game or in real life sometimes because he is known as a bit of a club hopper. But I tell you what, for us, after a decent season at Milan, I thought we'll pick him up. He's played for Real Madrid. He's got experience. He's played for AC Milan, Frankfurt, Benfica. He's played in the big leagues. These are the sort of names we need to slowly bring in. And do you know what? For £13 million, I think it's a steal. He's not the quickest, but the finishing's there. Player that I think we got a great deal on is going to be Brandon Soppy. Now, a little fun fact, we actually only spent 9 million, and he's done quite well, 7 assists, but he was actually a League 2 standard player, so he has improved significantly. As you can see, a lot of up arrows compared to the down, and as right back goes, I think we're set now for the entire rebuild. Genuinely, I rate him that highly. Again, we're picking up players that usually I'd never go for, but he's a centre-back that come in for a total of 3 million, played every game in the league, not many games outside of the league, I will be honest. 4 assists, a decent average rating. I'd never usually go for a player like Billy, but for the price tag of the money we had left over, it sort of was, I don't want to say these words, but picking the best out of a bad bunch. That's probably not a good way to word it, but, he's not first on the list. Because this guy was first on the list, that is going to be Igor. Now, I will say he comes in and he does not do as well as what I thought, because he plays 14 games, and I thought he was going to be playing as many games as, for example, this lad was. Now, you can see a couple of departures here, nothing really worth talking about. We've got a player here who was not really getting any game time, and the same can be said for this right back here, so not really missing out too much. But this lad here, I wanted more from. Now, I will say, I am hoping he can have a good second season at the club, because we only paid a little amount for him, and I guess if it doesn't work out, we can profit probably like 15 million if we do sell him, but he needs to have that good season to attract interest. So we'll see what happens. But for me, we brought in 6 incredible players, and when I say incredible, I will use the words incredible for this lad, this lad, this lad, and maybe even Luka Jovic. Probably 4 incredible players, 2 decent players, and I'm hoping that gets me back into minimum top 6 of French football. Now, sadly, we are just a little bit off that. We are going to be in 7th place. Now, I will go over and say it's very close to my expectation. That has to be said. What is quite frustrating to see is we don't have that many players. In fact, it is only Marcus Edwards that is going to be in the stat lines, and that is from average rating and assists. So Marcus Edwards is doing his job to a very high level, which is completely fine. We 1 place off what I wanted, but do you know what? We'll accept it. Because we do get European football, because we actually go on to win at the French Cup. Now, I'm going to show you the highlights, because I'm just as surprised as you are, probably, because we played a team in Lille, which I will say is probably one of the easier finals you can get if you compare them to Monaco, Marseille, Paris Saint-Germain. So I will say this was a good chance to win it. They are the better team on paper, but when you've got people like Jovic playing in balls to that to Edwards, who says they're the better team? We've got a very good attack. The defence is a little bit leaky, but surprisingly, we keep a clean sheet and actually go on to win this game in very comfortable 3-0 fashion with a finish like that. So yeah, we didn't get the league position I necessarily wanted, but we got what we wanted inevitably. We got European football, which is not the Champions League, a much more easier sort of stage to manage. We've already won one trophy, the French Cup, which is sitting very nicely in the club info, the reputation on the rise already. Look at that. We've got 2 new trophies into the cabinet, so very nice to see. Now, I would like to think, considering this has been won and a decent performance and we're in the Europa League, we've got a minimum of like 25 million, but we'll look at that in a second because the tactics, we're going to see what is the best team on paper. It is going to be a very, very similar looking team. Luka Jovic, 31 goal contributions. Edwards, I mean, it's remarkable. 28 from him. Very, very good season. Soppy 1 and 8, not too bad. De Smet's really slowed down, which is quite worrying. Adley 6 and 9, it's okay. I'll be honest with him. He is not doing as much as what I thought, but he's also doing probably the best out of any midfield player, so I can't really slate him. A player that I am going to talk about is Lopez. I banged on about how important he is. The ratings are there, but in my Man United team, now granted we are Man United, we've got better players around him, but the assists are really, really low, so I want to see more out of Lopez because he can do it. In terms of the bench, is quite reserved. Obviously, these players usually are covering the cup games, etc., etc. So yeah, it's a very, very good season, but the money is going to be where the issues is, because if we've not got money, we are not going to improve, and we've got a budget of 12 million. It's an absolute joke. We've got European football, we've won a French Cup, and we've had a good league run anyway. We're not going to improve, in my opinion. It's not all about money when it comes to football, but when you're on a progressive path, which you can't argue that now, we have won a trophy, we're in the Europa League, we're also sort of improved our league position, we're bringing big names in, we're on a very good path now, and we're not getting the back end. So I tell you what, I don't know what we're going to do, because you can go out and spend, what is it again, 12 million? We can go and spend this 12 million, and to be fair, we might look at a goalkeeper, although he's a decent keeper to be fair, but with 12 million, you've got to dig again into the free agent market, and I don't like to keep doing that because you do see the same players come up, but sometimes it's your only option. We should have a fair bit of money to spend next season because Adley, the player that we were sort of complaining about a little bit, an offer come in that I will say I couldn't refuse because it come in for a total of 51 million. Now, in terms of business, we brought him for 7.5, offloaded for 51 million. So the club was never going to turn it down. Also, not realistic not to take that sort of money for a player that is 27 years of age. As long as we get that money put back into the club, we can probably sign 2 upcoming midfield players. So it's looking quite good for this transfer window, and that's a player that's going out. We also did offload Corey, a player that I don't even think we've talked about. Not much really about him. But I'll say one thing now. The money that we should have got for Adley, we didn't get. We got very little amount from the actual sale, meaning we have now lost a very good midfield player, and we have still got around about maximum 28 million from a £51 million sale. This is the only paid signing that you're going to see. We have got 3 other free agents because, yeah, they didn't give us any of the Adley money, and maybe it goes into the next window. I'm not sure, but that is very annoying. We picked up this guy. I've signed him before, a very good player from Girona. It is going to be Frances. He's only 25, a backup right back, 16 games. He gets a goal, gets a good average rating. You can't really complain too much when you're spending, 7 million for a backup right back. He's reasonable, is what I'm going to say. He's not world class, but for a backup option, he'll get the job done. Same can be said when you're picking up players like Jamal Lewis. I mean, when you've not got much money to spend, you do find yourself signing people that are probably a little bit past their prime, but I needed a backup left back. I didn't have the money, so we've gone on the free. He's done an okay job, 12 appearances, 1 assist, 6.93. He is very far past his prime, and I'm hoping next season maybe we do get a bit more money. His overall attributes aren't horrific, but he's not going to win you a French League title, I can tell you that. A player that might, if he develops, is Callum Doyle. Now, very surprisingly, didn't spend a penny. He does very well, 6 goals above a 7 average rating, 34 appearances, comes in on the free. The value's not gone up too much, but I had no plans to sell him anyway because he's still only 24, and I think in the French league, with no disrespect to any French viewers, he's going to have an easier time developing here than what he would defending against, you know, Bukayo Saka, Salah. So he's not got as much to face in this league, and I think, hopefully, he can be a bit of the future of Paris FC. Lastly, a proper English winger is going to be Dwight McNeil. Now, he was not a planned sign, and he sort of come up on the free last minute. He has got the value, and I've signed him for that reason, because if he doesn't do well, which he has done very well to be fair, very rarely McNeil gets the goals compared to the assists, but he's got 15 goals and 6 assists, so it's a very good season. I'm not going to slate him, but I brought him in mainly because he's on not a ridiculous wage. I've paid a lot more in the past for him, and if a team comes in, similar to the Adley situation, as long as we get the money, we can profit quite a fair bit. So it is a very weird window. As you can see, a big amount going out. We've actually, look at the amount going out compared to coming in. The money should be with us, but trust me, it wasn't. Otherwise, I would have spent. We did not get hardly anything from that Adley deal, so maybe it wasn't the best decision, but I thought for realism, a team like Paris would take 67 million. Let's just be honest. So I'm hoping, with the signings we've made, I'm hoping we can do something. But we are going to match up against PSG on the first competitive game of the season in the Trophy de Champion, and we are going to go 1-0 up. Now, I will say PSG weren't playing their entire starting 11. They were playing a decent team, but for example, their goalkeeper, Donnarumma, wasn't even in the squad. So maybe he's been sold, I'm not too sure. But we do go on to actually win this, and McNeil grabs the winner. It's a chance for redemption in European football, as we are going to do a very good job here against Benfica in the round of 16 as we progress to the quarters, where we actually go on to beat Fenerbahce 5-1. Not an easy team to beat at all. The semi-finals just about edge over AS Monaco 3-2, meaning we played Inter Milan in the final, where unfortunately we lose 1-0. But do you know what? For an overall perspective, that's a very strong performance in the Europa League. But Inter Milan, we're not going to beat them just yet. Back-to-back French Cup finals, though, and a chance to do the double. And again, we've sort of got the good alternative here, because we are playing RC Lens. So I feel like we have to capitalise these opportunities, because we're not playing the absolute giants of French football at the moment. Luckily, we've had 2 finals with 2 beatable teams, and so far we're doing a great job in the final, and that is really good play. And it is going to be Amar going through once again and making it 2-0. A very strong start to this game against a team who I will say aren't awful, and maybe we're not even that much better, but I do feel they're beatable. And as long as we're not really playing a PSG or Marseille, I think we can get the job done, especially when their goalkeeper is performing like that, because that was an awful shot. But Lopez gets his goal. This is what Edwards does best. He takes on players, he's got the pace, no one can stop him. And I mean, look at that for Croatian. A great goal from Luka Jovic as well, who is doing what he does best, picking up the scraps, being in the right positions. At the moment, a 4-0 lead. It appears to be about to be a 5-0 lead, with De Smet down the left, a great ball in, and Amir, again, a great goal right there. Now, it was nearly the perfect game, but unfortunately, they are going to get a bit of a consolation, and it's from a long throw-in. Doyle sort of does a bit of a dodgy clearance, and it is going to be Medina on the edge, and it is, to be fair, a great finish, but nowhere near a threat to us. We also finished second in the league, so I mean, if you look at the whole picture, a second place finish, only 10 points behind PSG, which is a big statement. Runners up in the Europa League, winners of the French Cup and the Trophy de Champion. We are actually doing a very good job, and it's also being done against PSG. So we are slowly working our way up the ladder to the point where the reputation is seriously on the up. Tons of new trophies coming in, and I'm hoping that the money is going to pay out. It isn't. 16 million again after winning 2 French trophies, a second place finish, getting Champions League football, runners up in the Europa League, and we're getting 16 million. So I think it's fair for me to say we are getting done over a little bit, and I think a couple of players may have left. We can't see just yet. Their contracts may have expired, and I tell you what, this team is at a point now where the front line's firing. 13 and 33, Amir 22 and 12, 29 and 9 for Jovic. Dwight McNeil actually played as striker, funny enough, 24 and 10. Odie 9 and 2, 2 and 1 from France's backup right back, 5 and 9 for De Smet, 16 assists from Soppy. incredible, but this team needs investment now. We're at a point where we are seriously becoming a threat to PSG. You don't put money in, you soon become the team that are not going to be a threat to PSG. So it's quite annoying that we've done such a good job, because this tactic is really pulling the maximum performance out of the players we have got. But when you're getting budgets of 16.2 million, it's hard to get excited because you can't really plan signings. You have to just sort of take whatever's available. So we'll queue the next season. I'm very happy with that though. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe because we're doing a great job so far with very limited money. Once again, with limited budget, we still managed to find a way to get good players in. We are going to welcome in Gabriel Solana. He is going to come in from Chelsea, actually on the free, where he does keep 14 clean sheets in 32 games, so a very strong performance. And I tell you what, on the free, as goalkeepers go, model citizen, 31 million, only 25, young for a goalkeeper, come from a very, very big team. It's actually a really good sign, and even if we had lots of money in the bank, I probably still would have gone with him because he's a very good player. Our only unpaid signing is going to be Marc Casado. He comes in from PSG, 31 appearances, 9 assists, 1 goal. He does add a lot into that midfield. He is going to be the Adley replacement. 2 years or now 3 years younger. A good player who can improve. The aggression's there, determination, passing, tackling, teamwork, work rate, everything you would want from that sort of role. He covers to a very good degree. And lastly, we are actually going to bring in Jean Duran, obviously on loan from Al Nassr. I will say the loan didn't work. He got the game time, didn't get the goals, and therefore he will not be brought in, even for that sort of price tag. I'm not going to sign him for the sake of it. He flopped big time, and maybe a little sign to by any chance, any future upcoming players are watching this video. Don't take the move to Al Nassr. The money's good, but it's hard to adapt when you come back to a competitive league. So let's queue into the next season after 2 good signings and see what we can do. It's going to be 3 back-to-back French Cup finals, and again, not one of the real giant teams. We are playing Nice, again, a big team, but a team that's beatable, especially when Kimpembe allows Edwards all that time to actually sort of decide where he's going to finish it. A great start to the game, but this was really dodgy from them. Soppy was injured, and they actually carried on the play with Ansu Fati, a great signing for them, and this was really, really unsportsmanlike from them. Not nice to see at all, and it absolutely paid its price because we go on and win in the 115th minute. I mean, this is pure revenge, and funny enough, it was actually Duran who played a part in that goal, but it's Edwards again. Of course, another opportunity to win the Trophy de Champion. This occasion, PSG do sort of win, but I tell you what, we won that last year against them. It's now 1-1. It's fair game. Champions League is going to be a round of 16 exit against Ajax. I do want to see though, we were actually quite good in the league phase. In fact, very good. Who did we play? We did beat teams like Leipzig, Roma, Galatasaray, Frankfurt, Real Sociedad. A point against Liverpool's very good. Copenhagen, not ideal. And the loss against Barcelona, fair game. I mean, it is what it is. Real Madrid going invincible, probably won the lot, to be honest. In fact, can we even see the final? That's yet to be played. But I tell you what, for that reason, it's okay. And the league. The league's difficult now because whenever we play in the Champions League, we fall down the league rankings. And that is to be expected because you're playing bigger teams, more effort goes into the games. But I'm looking at the table, and I mean, there's not much in this, okay? I might be looking at this through sort of silver tinted glasses and wanting it to be good, but 67 and 79, I have seen bigger gaps from 5th to 1st. The actual top 4, there's only 8 points in it. And I imagine, okay, we didn't lose to PSG. We drew twice. So if you factor in, if we turn one of them into wins, we'd at least have 70 points, would then be 1 point off the top 4. I mean, we are honestly not doing too bad, and I do think just a few different games go in our favour. So, for example, the draws we had, there's teams in here we could be beaten. For example, Havre, Reims, Lorient, Toulouse, Rennes. We can beat these teams consistently. If we do that, we can take the fight to them. I genuinely believe that. I think we might be like one biggish window, and when I say biggish, I don't mean like 90 million, I mean 40 million, one of them windows off actually really competing. So have they given us that? No, they're giving us £9 million, so we probably won't take the fight to them over the next year because we need more cash flow. We need more money put into the team. We do need to potentially bring in another striker, although I will say Dwight McNeil as a striker is an absolute joke. 25 and 10, 25 and 12 for Jovic as well. Amir, 15-11, 14 and 15 for Edwards. The team is really overperforming, and it might be the tactic, it might be the team, I don't know. Maybe, probably a mixture, but I tell you what, we've got everything sorted in terms of the staff, we've got great people in charge. I mean, we've got real sort of a mindset behind this plan. We just haven't got the money to do it. So what I'm going to do is go over here, and I'm literally just going to do this and whack it all into the wage budget. We're going free signings again. I'm sorry, but you seem to get better players doing that, and with limited money, it's our only option. So this might be the best free agent window I've ever had on Football Manager. Just to say it right now, if you factor in also the club we're at, also like the appeal for the players, there's one player that I'm going to show last who I don't even know how it's possible. But I tell you what, we've had to get rid of more players to fund him. That's the little hint I'm going to give you. Now, Doué comes in and he plays, you know, he doesn't play too many games, okay? He comes in and plays 5. It's not the best free signing, but for an option in midfield, I'm not going to complain. He was purely rotation, and on the free, you're not going to find many better backup players that cost nothing and also have the potential that a player like Doué does. So signing 1 isn't the most exciting. We're going to gradually make them more exciting as we go through the window. So this is signing number 1 of 4. Signing number 2 of 4 is going to be Timber, a player that I never thought I would see at Paris FC, a big player, an actual world-class midfield player, star, almost leading French league player, incredibly well-rounded, can play in literally 5 positions to a great level. Yes, he's 28, but he comes in and drops a very good set of stats. 2 goals, 13 assists, 2 player of the matches, a 7.27, and a player that's not shy of £70 million. That's signing 2 of 4. They're going to get better. Yeah, they get better. Next up, Ez Abdi, a leading French league player who was one of the reasons we had to offload more players to get more wage budget. But I tell you what, considering we put all of our transfer money into wage budget, I'm not going to even question that decision because we get him on the free. 18 goals, 6 assists, 7.4 average rating, and again, an £80 million player. He's quick, agility, he's got everything. Literally everything you would want for a winger, he has got, and he cost me nothing. Yes, he's on a fair bit of money per week. Yes, he's 28, but I would never have a chance to get a player like this if I'm signing them on paid transfers. So the free signings, they're doing well so far, and the best still last, that player, Jamal Musiala. He comes in, and I will say his time at Bayern, if we look at it, so for example, it has been really bad of recent times, to the point where, you know, he didn't even play really for a whole year, so it was a gamble, and he doesn't even do that well in terms of like overall stat lines, but just the figure of player, the money that we could sell him for. If you look at the attributes, despite a bad season, not a bad season, an average season for us, look at the attributes. He honestly was a must pick up. We were competing with Liverpool, Arsenal, I believe there was a team in the Saudi League, and he chose us. So do you know what? I'm buzzing with that, and I'm hoping that, I mean, I'm not being funny. We brought in, we'll forget Doué for now, only lost 2 players as well. Timber, Musiala, Abdi. We should be at least in second place. If we're not, maybe this strategy's wrong, but I've gone all in. Let's see what happens. We are going to start off with a loss, which is not ideal. We are going to fail to win the Trophy de Champion again. PSG a little bit stronger on the day. French Cup a big step down, as we are going to lose actually to Monaco on penalties. So at the moment, we've somehow got worse. I really hope this is not a sign of things to come. Well, back to the Europa League and another chance to try and lift something. We are going to beat Salzburg 7-0 in the round of 16. We're then going to go on to beat Atletico Madrid 6-2, which I will say, these are a nightmare to play. So that's a real good result. And we then, oh, it's close. We just about get past Napoli, and it is going to be a PSG, did not say that, a Paris FC v PSV final. Both teams got there through penalties. I think this is going to be a scrappy one, because both teams getting through on penalties, it doesn't scream a dominant sort of way to get there, does it? So this could go either way. And this is our real chance now to try and win a big trophy. The Europa League would be massive. And we are going to get off to a great start. And look who plays the role. Abdi, a great ball through into Jovic, who is there purely to sit there and just get in the box. And he does a great job of that. And look at this now, because Musiala wins it back or gets the ball into Abdi. And that is what you get. You get free agents that might be older, but you get the quality pre-made. And that is going to be a great goal to make it 2-0, and it is going to be another Abdi goal to wrap up this cup final, meaning we're Europa League winners with Paris FC, and it is going to be a great run from Soppy again, and a great finish from Ez Abdi. I can't quite believe it, because we've actually won the French League in the same season as winning the Europa League, so it sort of all comes at once, and sometimes that happens in Football Manager. We only lose 2 games. Did we... Okay, so we drew against PSG twice again. We didn't lose though, so we've won by a point, and it's very close. And to be honest, PSG had a real off-season. If we look at their team, they've actually sacked their manager. So it's not a good time for PSG. Marseille in second place. So they still got De Zerbi? They do not have De Zerbi. Okay, so a bit of a reshuffle for everyone, really. But our players really stepped up to the mark. Clean sheets. Gabriel, big difference to the team. Edwards has probably been, I want to say, the player of the rebuild, purely because of the consistency. We've had him for a few years now. He has been such a gem to have, a real good player who is now 31. And don't get me wrong, we're going to look at the team in a second, but what we've achieved here is nothing shy of a miracle. A very strong season, the reputation up to 4 stars, and I mean genuinely, the history has been... It's like you've spawned in trophies. Now, is it the best team that, you know, we've ever created in terms of the future? Probably not. I'm always honest with it on this channel, and we have had to go down a path of more older players because it's hard to sign younger players because they're so expensive, but this is what a realistic rebuild is. It's not all about signing, you know, João Neves, all of these amazing wonder kids for 90 million. Sometimes rebuilds take different paths, and do you know what? In terms of the money, we've finally gone back to having bigger budgets, £36 million, and you have got a very solid team that you can use, and you have got some younger players, middle-aged players, and you've got a team that can win the French League and European football. So for me, that is challenge complete. A very hard but enjoyable rebuild. Sorry, if you have enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Once again, if you want to get all of my rebuild files, all of my tactics, because this tactic might get a dedicated video on it by itself, because it's definitely played a big part, you can head over to the Patreon and get involved. Be sure to leave a like again, and if you want to see me do these live, you can head over to Josh Daly, which is my main channel, where obviously the tactics are, and also we live stream. And you know what? I might honestly carry on this save. I'm tempted. I'm feeling a Champions League. I'll see you in the next one.